We're heading to a place today. It's much older than Angkor Wat itself. In fact, it's half a millennium older than Angkor Wat. It's only been dug up relatively recently, and this is one to watch. This will be a big historical park in Thailand sometime in the future. We are down in Chanthaburi province. We are not massively far from the Cambodian border, and it would be easy to look at this place that we're going to today as just another Khmer place, but it isn't. We're on our way to some more ancient ruins in Thailand, but I guarantee most of you won't have heard of this place. A place the guidebooks call ancient ruins, but honestly, that's like calling the ocean a bit wet. Out here on the outskirts of Chanthaburi, you're driving straight into a mystery. A half-buried port city where stones literally poke out of the soil like stubborn memories, and most of the story is still sleeping under modern houses. Officially, it's Khmer, maybe, or Chenla, maybe, or Funan, maybe, or Chong, maybe. Unofficially, it might be far older, far bigger, and far stranger than anyone wants to admit. Entire sections are unexcavated, whole neighbourhoods built right on top of whatever came before, and the archaeologists have barely scratched the surface. They've dug up a pond so far. So join us. We're about to step into a place that feels less like Thailand and more like a forgotten chapter in a book no one remembers writing. Let's see what Phaniat is willing to reveal today. They call this place Muang Phaniat, a sleepy scatter of laterite walls and lonely steps, a sort of theatrical skeleton of a city that once breathed, where orchards now grow and aircons hum. Up close, the stones are pretty ordinary. Laterite blocks, a few carved fragments, the odd Buddha, once half buried, now sitting in a local museum. And yet you feel the pull of a long, slow history gathered like dust in the corners. The Fine Arts Department says Phaniat sits within an ancient Khmer cultural landscape, and that this site's masonry and earthwork speak from about the 7th to the 13th centuries. If you stand where the old ramparts would have been and close your eyes, you can almost hear the seagulls and the creak of vessels. For a lot of scholars, Phaniat was not merely a village, but an early port city in the network of Funan Chenla maritime trade that stitched this coast to the wider world. Post-herds and fragments unearthed here, and the shape of the watercourses suggest a settlement that prospered until rivers changed course and people quietly walked away. And yet, here's where the amateur in me perks up like a sexpat in a go-go bar. Most of this place still remains under dirt. There are whole rooms of history unturned, whole streets slumbering beneath later house foundations and modern roofs. A handful of videos and local enthusiasts whisper of a far larger site than the tidy tourist board map shows. Not simply ruins, but the bones of a swallowed town, a city, waiting for spades, money, and a little bit of patience. Some writers have pushed further, arguing for a distinct kingdom of Phaniat and making brave attempts to name the people who lived here. The Chong perhaps, or other riverine folk who peopled eastern Thailand's first ports. Others point out the overlapping layers, Khmer-style foundations, later Ayutthayan reuses, evidence of continued local habitation. It becomes, in short, a palimpsest, each era writing upon the last. Now for the romantic suspicion. The sort of thing a young Dickens might have scribbled in the margin if he'd had a taste for lost cities. We already know that whole stretches of the human story lie inert beneath our houses because the modern town or city grew on top of them. Rivers and canals were likely diverted, meters of silk concealing the courts of courtiers, and commerce simply migrated elsewhere. Conspiracy, in the sense of deliberate suppression, is likely too melodramatic a word for this place, but there is certainly neglect. The slow bureaucratic amnesia that leaves sites unexcavated until somebody with a camera and an idea shows up and says, "Wait, you need to come and have a look at this. You really do." As the sun slides down behind the trees and the laterite reddens like an old bruise, dogs barking, almost saying, "It's time for you to go now, mate." Phaniat is both a place and a question. It is an invitation to kneel in the dust, run your fingers along old mortar, and admit you do not know the shape of the past yet. The map we carry is very thin. The ground beneath us is thick with stories, and if we listen, really listen, the buried city might yet speak. And that, folks, was Phaniat, or rather the tiny fraction of it that we're actually allowed to see. Hard to believe that this was once a city 2 kilometres long and a full kilometre wide, complete with a palace, waterworks, and more temples that you could count before lunch. Most of it is still under our feet, still waiting. What we can see tells a louder story than anyone admits. Some of these laterite blocks, the very stones beneath my boots, were carted off centuries ago. They became the foundations of Chantaburi's cathedral back in the 16th century. And later, they turned up again in a nearby 19th century fort. Civilizations recycling civilizations, recycling civilizations, as if nobody realised how old the originals really were. Because here's the thing, it's way too easy to shove this place into the neat little Khmer box, convenient, tidy, filed away, but once again, we're staring at a site at least 1500 years old with clear Indian influence baked right into its bones, and yet hardly a proper archaeological dig has been done. It's like everyone's waiting for someone else to go first. So I'll leave you with this. Phaniat isn't a footnote. It's a buried chapter. And until we dig deeper, literally dig deeper, we're only guessing at the civilization that built it. Whatever it wasn't small, and it wasn't simple. And I have a feeling its real story hasn't even begun to be told.